Welcome back to Never Enough Novels. It's time to pick out my May TBR using my TBR jar. I started off the year with around 40 prompts, and each month I typically pick out 3 of these to help choose my physical TBR books for that month. If you need ideas for your own TBR jars, check out the link in my description down below because I put my blog post together that has like over 50 ideas that you can put in your own TBR jars. So like I said, each month I usually pick out 3 slips of paper and then try to choose books from my physical TBR that fit those themes. So I kind of use this book card as a way to keep track of all of the books that I've been meaning to read or books from publishers that I need to read so I can kind of see them easily all in one place. So I'm going to use this as kind of a starting point for the prompts that come out of my TBR jar. I also have my Kindle ready to go since there are some ebooks that I need to read as well. So let's dive in and see what we get this month. Real quick, before we get into May, I just have to say that I actually read one of the books that I did in a previous TBR video just recently, and it was called Heavy Hitter by Katie Cotugno, and I just absolutely loved it, so I wanted to give it a quick shout out. It's a super quick romance. It's only like 220 pages, and it's very heavily like Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce coded. So it was a really fun play on like a celebrity romance with a professional athlete. In this case, it's a baseball player, but I thought it was a really fun look at kind of how their lives meld together, and also it's perfect for baseball season. So if you're looking for like a really fun, quick, kind of applicable summer romance, I would definitely recommend giving this a try. Okay, so let's see what my first prompt is going to be for May. This one is a book with a cover you don't like. Okay, that's kind of an interesting wrinkle compared to so many books have covers that I absolutely love. I kind of feel bad picking out options for this prompt because I don't want to like hurt the feelings of the person that designed the book. But I'm going to say, okay, this is going to be one of them. It's called Friends with Benefits by Marissa Cantor. And I just recently got this in the mail from the publisher, and I think this book comes out soon. So it's cool that it has like the sprayed edges. So I love this deluxe edition that you can still get. But I feel like the cover is just kind of boring. Like there's really not a lot going on. It's got the typical like cartoon drawings from a romance, but I don't know. I feel like they could have done a little bit more with this one. So we're gonna use this as one of my options for a cover that I don't like. I also just feel like the sprayed edges is a little intense with that like red color. I know it matches the title, but okay, not my favorite. But anyway, this book seems like a really cute book. It's got a lot of tropes that I really like. So it's a friends to lovers book because it features 2 people who have been friends since they were children, and the guy has sort of been in love with the girl for a long time, and he actually has a chance to do something about it. So Theo is an elementary school teacher, which is also adorable. I love when there's a male like elementary school teacher as the main character. And he can't afford to live on his own based on his salary. He's basically facing an issue because his roommates couple up and move out of their rent-controlled apartment, but there's a loophole in his lease, so each tenant must meet an income threshold unless the tenants are married. So, I mean, it sounds a little old school, but, you know, plot. So Theo is facing an issue because he needs to be married in order to keep this apartment. So for him, the answer is obvious. His best friend, Evie, is usually willing to do anything to help him out. So they agree to this like marriage of convenience so that he can stay in his apartment. Evie has her own reasons for agreeing to this, even though she is very against the idea of marriage in general. So she is selected for a fellowship opportunity within her career field, but she realizes that there are no health benefits with this opportunity. And since she has a chronic illness, it's basically going to prevent her from taking this. Except since she ends up marrying Theo, then she can be added to his health benefits on his insurance. So these 2 enter into this marriage of convenience and agree to live together and get some of the benefits of the situation. But like I said, Theo's always been a little bit in love with Evie, and as these 2 spend more time together, they start to realize that maybe more feelings are developing between the 2 of them. So I always love any chance for like childhood friends to become lovers later in life, so I'm excited to see how this all plays out. I think the story sounds really cute, but again, not a huge fan of the cover, so that'll be a good pick for this prompt. The next book I'm going to pick is Forget Me Not by Stacey Willingham, and right now I just have like a digital copy, so it's literally just words on a page, but I'll show you the cover here as well so you can see it. It's just like dark and blue, and it has thorns, and oh, I guess there's like a car headlight in there as well, but I don't really know how that ties into the story, and I'm just not like a huge fan of that kind of mishmash of things on the cover. So we'll go with this one for my second option. So basically, this is a new Southern thriller from Stacey Willingham, and I've read a few other books by her in the past. This one comes out, oh, it's not until the end of August. Oh my goodness. So it's not for a while, but you can pre-order it now if you're interested in. So basically, the quick summary is that 22 years ago, Claire's older sister disappeared shortly after her 18th birthday, and her blood was found in a car, and a man was arrested. But Claire is still kind of attempting to forget this traumatic past, and she's climbed the ranks as an investigative journalist. So she's been moving on with her life until an unexpected call from her father forces her to come back home and like face everything from her past. So now she's got summer looming ahead of her in her old hometown where this traumatic experience went down. And she decides on a whim to accept a job at the local farm or a vineyard less than an hour away from where she grew up. So at first it seems like a great escape for her, a place to just kind of get away from her hometown, and a place where her sister had been very happy in that last summer before she vanished. However, as she's kind of spending more time there, she stumbles across an old diary by one of the vineyard's owners. And at what first seems like a story of young rebellion and love turns to something much more sinister as it describes details of various unsolved crimes. So Claire is trying to now do a little bit more research of this vineyard and the owner. And I mean, she has that experience as an investigative journalist, so that's going to come into play here. But she finds herself becoming more and more secluded as she starts to obsess over the diary's contents, and maybe the feeling that her sister's disappearance was somehow tied into this as well. This definitely sounds like an intriguing story. Like I said, Stacey Willingham has done a great job with some more of these like slow burn thrillers that often connect something in the past to the current day. And I love her characters that she creates, and sometimes they're not exactly like reliable narrators, and it feels like if this main character like starts to develop an obsession, maybe she's jumping to conclusions that aren't really there. So this should be another really interesting one from her that I'm excited to get into. Out of the two of those though, between the Friends with Benefits romance or the Forget Me Not thriller, I think I'm going to pick Friends with Benefits this month. Like I said, this is a book that was sent to me by Celadon, so it's definitely on my list to read. And I feel like the idea of a friends to lovers, like elementary school teacher idea is going to be a lot of fun. So I'm going to pick this one officially for my May TBR. Okay, so let's see what's up next for my second prompt. This one says, a book by an author with your initials. Oh boy, okay. That could be very difficult. So I'm guessing I'm never going to find anything with both of my initials together. So I will say either the first name starts with R or the last name starts with K, at least to start. Let's see if anything even pops out with those initials. Okay, there is almost like literally nothing on here that has like an R or a K in their name. Oh, wait, here's one. Okay, the Wren in the Holly Library. I didn't even notice this. It's the first initial, but we're still going to go with that because it's K and there's not many other options. So this one's called The Wren in the Holly Library, and it's by K.A. Lind. Don't know what that stands for, but I picked this up from Barnes & Noble a while ago, although it has a Target sticker. Oh no, I think this actually came from Book Outlet. So that's a really fun website if you've never checked it out. They have a ton of new books that usually just have some sort of like small marking. So I don't know if you can see, there's like a little black dot on it. And I think this one like initially came from Target. So they collect all of these books from different bookstores or places that are brand new, just maybe have some like small marking or just like overstock that the store couldn't sell. And they offer them at really great discounted prices. I'll put the link to that down below as well if you want to check it out. I've ordered from them multiple times in the past and always been really happy with. You kind of never know what you're going to find on there in terms of selection, but they have a lot of like popular books and authors, so it's fun to just browse and see what's out there. And like I said, the prices are phenomenal, so it's definitely worth checking out. So this is one that I picked up, honestly, probably because of the sprayed edges. I just think that looks so cool, but I haven't gotten around to actually reading it yet. Oh, it's also got like a really cool end papers, drawings on the inside. So, okay, this book is about obviously a library. So let's see, 13 years ago, monsters emerged from the shadows and plunged Kierce? Ooh, I don't know how to say that. Main character, Kierce, we're gonna go with that. World into a cataclysmic war of near total destruction. New York City, she knew, practically collapsed overnight. So in the wake of that carnage, the monster treaty was created. But tonight, Kierce is a gifted and fearless thief, and she will break that treaty, entering the Holly Library, not knowing it's the home of a monster. But This monster is charming, alluring, and terrifying. He knows talent when he sees it, and it's just a matter of finding her price to basically form an alliance with her. So now she's locked into a dangerous bargain with a creature unlike any other. She'll sacrifice her freedom, offer her skills, and together they'll put their own futures at risk. But he's been playing a game across centuries, and once she joins in, there will be no escape. So I had heard about this book previously, but didn't really know what it was about. It's kind of interesting. I think it's a little bit of a romance, obviously a fantasy, and it's got an interesting monster concept as well. So I've seen really good reviews about it, and I've heard it's a really fast-paced read. It's less than 400 pages, which is kind of nice for a fantasy type book. I think it's interesting to see it taking place in a familiar city like New York City, but obviously a very different version than the one that we're used to. So if you like romantasy books or books with monsters and something kind of different from just the normal fantasies, I think this has got a little bit of Beauty and the Beast vibes as well, since our main character is a human, but the beast is kind of trapping her into an arrangement. So that aspect definitely has me very intrigued as well. So like I said, this was a book that I had got from Book Out that I really wanted to read. So I'm going to pick this one as something that has my same initials on it. The other book I have that fits this prompt is called Metal Slinger by Rachel Snyder. This is a book that I have an e-arc for, but it actually came out in 2024. So I think it was one of those books that they didn't expect to be as popular as it was. On Amazon, it's listed as a best of book talk option. So they're actually going to be coming out with a hardcover version of this book in early 2026. So I think because it was so popular, they're now coming out with a fancy hardcover, and there's going to be a sequel as well. So they're kind of building up interest with this new hardcover. But this is another fantasy. It's the first book in the Fire and Metal series. Honestly, I can't tell much from the description about what it's about, but like I've said, I've just kind of heard good vibes about this one. So our main character is Bryn, and she has spent most of her life waiting for the chance to attend the annual market hosted by the Kenta. This is people who exiled the Alaha to live a life over the sea. But a rite of passage for her and all the other young guards, I guess that she's a part of, is attending this market. So she's not quite sure what to expect from this whole event, but breaking a century-long peace treaty certainly wasn't on her list. Neither was an encounter with an enemy soldier. So after this kind of crazy turn of events that happened at this market, she's returning home and basically dealing with the aftermath of everything that happened. So the future is uncertain, as now the continued threat of hunger looms over her people, and there's been kind of rumors of a growing rebellion amongst her people. So Bryn and her closest friends decide to stick together. But when an unexpected visitor arrives, Bryn's loyalty will be tested as she learns more about a world of magic and treachery. This visitor is her enemy and her people's enemy, so she is this deep-seated nature to hate them. But the dark, knowing eyes of a stranger make her question everything, including her heart. So obviously, without much to go on here, you can tell that this is going to be a pretty typical romantasy with the enemies to lovers tropes inside of it. I've heard some interesting things about the magic and how she kind of learns about that in this book. So I think that's what I'm most excited for, to see kind of how the magic system is different maybe from anything else that I've read. So again, this is kind of a unique book since it's already available and you can grab the paperback version now, or if you want to wait until the hardcover comes out early next year, then you should be able to get book 1 and book 2 pretty close to back to back. So 2 fantasy options for this prompt. I have to admit that since I have the digital version of the Metal Slinger book, I'm definitely intrigued by that because that's one that I should be reviewing since the publisher sent it to me. But I feel the Wren in the Holly Library sounds a little bit more appealing, especially since it has that Beauty and the Beast maybe scenario. So I'm gonna go with this one. I'm excited to see more about how this monster interacts with our main character and kind of what the treaty is what the bargain is that they agree to. So I'm gonna go ahead and pick this one for May. Okay, that brings us to our third and final pick for May. Let's see, this one says a book you discovered on social media. Wow, that could probably be a lot of these books here. But let's see which options I want to choose. All right, the first one I'm gonna pick is Bridesmaids by Chance. So this is by Megan Quinn, and it is the third book in her Bridesmaid for Hire series. So it's a whole series featuring this group of friends, co-workers that work for basically an event planning company. So we get to see different members of this company or friends of theirs that are kind of falling in love throughout the different books. So Megan Quinn in general is someone that I'm pretty sure I discovered at some point on Bookstagram. She is known for her like quirky, spicy romances. They're always full of really great wit and banter. So that's why I love her so much, because her books like are as funny as they are spicy. And she writes consistently just like really great, fun romances. So I'm still working my way through a lot of her backlist, but I've started to get her new books as they come out. So this is another one. It just came out in April of this year. So it's a newer book. And like I got this from a publisher, so a huge thanks to Bloom for sending this my way. But like I said, I can always just count on her for really fun romances that just are full of tropes that we love and a lot of really great characters that you are absolutely rooting for to get together. So this whole series has been really great. I love the Bridesmaid for Hire series. So I would recommend any of the books. There's Bridesmaids for Hire, Bridesmaids Undercover, which I think was my favorite of them. And now this one is Bridesmaids by Chance. So in this one, we meet some of the characters that have been previously mentioned in the other books, but they can be read as standalones as well. Like, you know, you might spoil like the happily ever after that comes before, but you're not really missing anything from the previous books usually. So in this one, our main male character is Hudson Hopper. And again, he's someone that we have met previously. So he did his business partner, Jude, a favor by hiring Jude's younger sister, Sloane, as his new assistant. However, she turns out to be this like massive distraction for him. So it's kind of a he falls first scenario where he just like can't get over how attracted he is to her and how much he likes her, but she's his assistant. So, you know, normally that would be off limits. But things get more complicated between them when Hudson volunteers Sloane to fill in as a bridesmaid for a wedding and for a potential client. And she agrees, but there are certain stipulations because this wedding is a Regency wedding. So she's like, if I'm gonna wear a corset and go through all of this craziness, then you need to do something for me as well. But they kind of up the stakes and agree to actually get married for different reasons. So for her, she needs a down payment to secure her childhood home so that she can buy that back. Meanwhile, he needs a wife in order to get into this high society club, which will help him with like a ton of future business deals. So they get married kind of against his will. So she throws this idea out and Hudson initially is like, no, but because of all these benefits, he eventually agrees to it. And I mean, there's still the fact that this is his friend's sister as well. So we've got like the best friend's sister trope in here also. So kind of, it sounds like they're going to get into a lot of interesting situations, especially with that Regency wedding, which I think sounds like it would be so much fun to read about. So this one just sounds like it will be a very entertaining romance as well. I'm very excited to see or to learn more about Hudson because like I said, we've met him in previous books. And I think Sloane sounds like a really interesting female main character as well. So obviously with these sort of marriage of convenience tropes, they always have a little bit of tension at the beginning, but eventually fall for each other, and I love to see how that plays out. So that'll be my first choice for a social media book. Let's see what's next. I am going to go with Passion Project. So this is technically a book from Book of the Month. Oh geez, they're all falling over. So I guess like not really social media, but the reason I picked it is because I saw a lot of great reviews on Bookstagram. And I mean, it's a romance, but I hadn't heard anything about it previously. So I was honestly going to skip over like that month from Book of the Month because nothing really stood out to me. But then I saw so many different reviews of this and how much people loved it. So I decided to give it a chance. So I still haven't read it yet, obviously, because I always wait forever with Book of the Month books. But I think this would be a good time to pick this one. Reading more about it, it actually sounds really cute and like right up my alley. So our two main characters are Bennett, who is supposed to be living the best years of her life, but she's failing miserably and just feels kind of adrift in New York City with no direction and like no energy to pursue anything. But she gets set up on a first date with Henry and she like drunkenly confesses to him that she's not ready to be in love and just like feels no passion for her life. So Henry offers to help her basically find her passion. So the two of them agree that every Saturday they will try a new activity, as friends, of course. But this passion project finds them doing all sorts of random things like photography, tattooing, rappelling off skyscrapers. And eventually, as they're spending more time together and doing these things on the weekend, like more things develop between the two of them than just friends as well. However, eventually some secrets come to the surface, and Bennett is forced to face the grief that has been holding her back and kind of put her in this position in the first place. So I think there's going to be a heavy dose of like Bennett dealing with some sort of traumatic event or grief in her past and how that is still affecting her. And I feel like that has been a trend lately in a few romances that I've read, of like one of the main characters or both are dealing with a significant amount of grief. And the book that I've read, at least in the past, have done a really great job showing how people handle that and also like acknowledging those feelings, but then also being able to move beyond it eventually in like very healthy ways and find a way to enjoy life again. So I think this is going to be a very similar situation where we have a character that's dealing with some sort of grief. So it's got a little bit of a heaviness to it, but in the end will be like a really hopeful and romantic story. And I love the idea of kind of getting to travel through New York City and try different fun activities that honestly some things that I'd be interested in myself as well. So the concept of this one sounds really cute, and I think it's going to be a really fun kind of spring, summer romance. So this one is high on my list as well. Between the two of these, I think I'm going to pick Passion Project, again, because it just feels so unique and feels like it would be a really fun read to kind of go along with them as they go through all these different activities and passions and try to find something that sticks for Bennett. So I'm going to pick this one. I love this cover. It's just so colorful and like perfect for summer. So great job on that. It definitely does not fit my previous prompt with a cover that I hated. So those are the 3 books that I've got for this month. Passion Project, a summer romance, The Wren in the Holly Library, which sounds like a Beauty and the Beast fantasy, and then Friends with Benefits, which is another classic, friends to lovers romance. So let me know in the comments which books you would pick off of your own TBRs for these prompts. I always love to see what you guys are reading as well. Or let me know if you've read any of these or any of the other books that I talked about. Maybe let me know if I made the wrong decision. But again, I always want to hear what you guys are reading as well. So let me know what you're choosing to read for May. And stick around, make sure you hit like on this video and subscribe to my channel to get updates on these books and also to see my next round of TBR Jar picks next month.